Hello everyone, I'm Sophie and I'm currently at Kechara Forest Retreat, Bentong, Malaysia. And today I'll continue reading from my guru's blog, His Eminence the 25th Sam Tuku Rinpoche. The topic being love without agenda. And today I will be continuing on in my sharing, which will be part 13. And as usual, before I do my sharing, I'll go to a picture to share with you. There you go, a funeral pyre, because the topic Rinpoche is on the funeral of his guru and how it affected him. And this is a continuation. So, Love Without Agenda, part 13. And I said to myself, I'm going to push myself even more towards no agenda life, no agenda, no accumulation of wealth for myself in itself, no accumulation of reputation for myself in itself. I don't want any relationships. I don't want any in this life and future lives because it ends up nowhere. I'm sorry, no offense to anyone. I prayed for that very hard and to be happy, to benefit others, to use my life for others. I pray for that very hard. I didn't pray for very high things, but I prayed for things that are better. Why? One day my students will put me in the fire. One day my body will be burning in there, and I visualize that. One day, all of you will push me in, and I'll be burning. One day soon, in fact, very soon. Then, no matter what pujas you do for me, it's not going to make a difference for me. It's what I have done when I was living. How much I have done, how many centers I have, how many students doesn't matter. How much I have transformed my mind. And that's what hit me very strong. I am not here preaching to you. Really, I am not. This is what I was thinking about. I am not preaching to you at all. So I put myself in the funeral pyre. So these days, when I do my death meditations, I lock myself in my bedroom. I stay in there. I do all kinds of things in there. People can assume whatever they want I'm doing in my bedroom. But I know what I'm doing in my bedroom. I lock myself in there. I don't lead for hours, 12 hours, 15 hours. When I do my death meditations, when I do my practices, I don't like to let people know. I like to make them think I'm doing something else. It's more exciting that way, much more exciting. I like to pride myself as the secret Mahasiddha. I know it's another fantasy trip. I'm wrong, but it's okay. At least I pretend to be a secret Mahasiddha than a rock star. Can you see me like Aerosmith screaming on the stage? You are like, you're already screaming off the stage, so why not? Okay, never mind. Thank you, you win. But when I do my meditations, I have added that to the equation, seeing myself in the fire. I used to see myself being buried, but now I see myself in the fire because it is much more dramatic, much, much more, and I have a visual aid. So my point is what? Why I talk about that? It helps us to get a grip on reality and what is really important. Because regardless of religion or race or background, that is going to happen to us. That is going to happen. What is going to happen to us? And if we don't meditate on it, if we avoid it and don't think about it, we won't change. If we don't meditate and think about it, we won't have our priorities right, correct. If we don't focus and meditate on it, and we are afraid of it, then you know what happens? We don't love the people around us. Don't talk about the whole world, even the people around us. Why? We didn't do anything for them. In fact, we become a burden, and that's the difference. So if people tell me they want to do this and this, you know what's the first thing that pops in my mind? I am so sorry. How much time do you have left? You still want to waste your time on that? That's exactly what I think all the time. Even people who read a lot of Dharma books, I look at them and say, any attainments? Or is it just puffed up knowledge like a peacock? Any attainments? So you have read 3,000 Dharma books and you can recite it verbatim. You know it very well. Any attainments? Any transformation? Any? If it's not, they'll just have more fuel to burn you up with, your books. Doesn't make a difference. So whether you read a lot or you are very knowledgeable in Dharma or not, or you are not very knowledgeable like me, we are still going to burn. But when we burn, the actions we have done in this life, gross actions are very easy to see. Subtle actions are more dangerous. Subtle laziness, subtle pride, subtle arrogance, subtle feeling of superiority, subtle lack of care, subtle lack of discipline, subtle giving. See, when you're not disciplined yourself and you don't inspire people, you are not giving. You are not practicing the 6 parameters at all. That's subtle. So for ordinary people, they can't see that. They see, oh, you are doing Dharma, you are teaching, you are meditating, you are practicing, you are chanting, you are pujaing, you have an altar, you are making offerings, you are wearing a pendant, you are doing your mantras, you hold a mala, and you go to a Dharma center, and maybe you even hold a position. These are all gross types of manifestations, but actually more important is the subtle. Why? Because the subtle controls the gross. The subtle is the factor behind the gross. So are we subtly selfish? Are we subtly very lazy? Are we subtly unwilling to change, to transform and discipline ourselves? If we are, it's very dangerous. Why? Gross can be taken away. You know, if you like to, if you waste your time in discos, you can take that away, but they can't take your gross attachment to discos away. Very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. So for some people who are overtly attached openly, but if you talk to them and they try to transform, that's good. But if they are not overtly attached and they don't manifest that, but introvertly they are attached and they are very subtly attached to themselves, therefore they have ego. They are attached to their knowledge, therefore they have pride and arrogance. They are attached to their activities, therefore they don't want to bend to for others and justify it with Dharma. That's very dangerous. Why? Because it's their subtle mind. It's what travels with you, and the subtle mind is what karma attaches itself to. So you may be fooling others with gross Dharma actions or yourself. Fooling doesn't mean in a negative way. Some people don't even know, but subtle you cannot. Subtle you cannot. That's why sometimes you examine our actions by inner, sometimes. But if we are going to apply that to Chogyam Trungpa, impossible. Why is it impossible? Because he is beyond reproach. No, we are not at that level yet. Yet is the key. Yet. So therefore, why? Number 6. Why did he not remember his wife's name the day after they were married? Why did he not remember his wife's name right after he was married? JP, can you share with us what you think about that? And here JP answers, I think it was because he was more interested in connecting to her mind and not the external factors, the external aspects of her. It was a lot. It was beyond that. So that's why he did not. And here Rinpoche replies, why did you think, Andy? Microphone time. Chia already got it ready. In 10,000 words or less? Thank you, I forgot. And Andy replies, I don't think Rinpoche forgot his wife's name because certain beings have the ability to, and Rinpoche injects, which Rinpoche, I don't have a wife. Andy replies, Trungpa Rinpoche. And here Rinpoche says, got to make it clear because there are some newbies here. And Andy replies, so these types of Rinpoches have the ability to work on several dimensions at the same time. So I think I would like to say he was a little, and here Rinpoche injects again. When you say that dimension, do you mean a different plane of existence? And Andy replies, yes, like so when we begin this story. Well, he is just in an absolute, so he forgets. He doesn't even care or remember her name, but, and Rinpoche injects, if you are in an absolute, how do you forget? Andy replies, that's a very good question. That's a very good answer, yeah. Rinpoche, that's a good answer. That's a question. And Andy replies, so, well, people like us, we can only be at one place at the same time. With people like them in the absolute, they can be in another reality at the same time. And Rinpoche says, so maybe his focus was somewhere else. And Andy replies, yes, but Rinpoche says, maybe he was daydreaming. And Andy, I don't think he forgot her name at all. Maybe it's his aim of teaching her non-attachment. And Rinpoche says, I think that's good. I think he was letting her know to get ready what she was in for. Okay, I'll stop here for this session. So maybe you can think about it, especially the part where why Chogyam Trungpa could not remember the wife's name, because they, the higher beings like Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche operates on many different levels, and as such, he could be in a different, I mean, perspective. I mean, different, operating from a different plane, so he does not remember her name, and it's not that important to him. And also, please do remember what Rinpoche was sharing about your gross attachment and the subtle attachments. The subtle attachments is very dangerous because it is actually what propels us with the gross attachment. So the subtle attachment is something that doesn't show itself, but it is there, and we really do need to work on overcoming the subtle attachments. Okay, so that's something for you to think about. And as Rinpoche, he himself do a lot of meditation on death, so that, and he has always advised us to do death meditations. And as you can see, the funeral pyre is one method of one, visual way that we can visualize during our death meditation, ourselves burning in the flame. Because once we plan for our death, or we realize that the impermanence of our life, then we will learn to value, what is important and what is not. So for this session, thank you for sharing your time with me. And I'll end this with a completion dedication in Tibetan. Jangjo Sencho Rinpoche, Make Panam Geyushi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Gone Gondo Pewashu, Tony Towa Rinpoche, Make Panam Geyushi, Ke Panam Pame Payang, Gone Gondo Pewashu, Daso Jini Sapagewadi, Tantandro Wakuna Kampadang, Jepa Jesu no Santrapai, Tamping Imporindo Sao Se Sho. Kewa kuntu yandala madang drami choki panalon choching sadam nangi yote razone doje changi ngopanga tusu kewa di nyoduda lama sangedroyone drewa chike malupa de isalago pasho choki ka posongkapa chosunam papewala keki sama siwadang tungki malu sangwasho dadam singi desendan drewa songi lotene gewa losandrapai Tampayureva Gyushi ni modele sendele ni mingunyandele shi ni sentato dele pel kunchu sungi jingilu kunchu sungi ngoduso kunchu sungi trasi sho yeso lama kusen rapting ching nam katrini chocho ke bada lo samten pedro mi samsungi dro e mensatato ni gyushi Gangri rawe kowe shingamde pendandewa malu gyoe ni cherensi wantense get soyi shape shire badu den gyushi Home Tomping Otro Malopa, then the Dala Salduso, Kodan Dempa Long Chotnam, Kepa Sushik Shuktan Cell. Thank you, and I'll see you again for my next sharing.